Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Our viewers and listeners, you are all welcome to this particular program that is coming to you from Marhaban Media TV in collaboration with Marhaban Natural Integrative Medicine and Research Center, Kuje, Abuja. I, the presenter, Yusuf Zakaria Abubakar, CEO Marhaban Natural Integrative Medicine and Research Center, Kuje, Abuja. Today is the 18th day of the month of Ramadan, 1443 years after the migration of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam from Mecca to Medina, which is equivalent to 19th day of the month of April 2022. I'll continue from where we stopped in our previous session. The topic of discussion, as you all know, is diabetes. We have previously discussed on hypertension. These two major cases among reverse dangerous diseases, as we know. Today's topic of discussion has some subheadings or subtopics. The subheading number one is causes of diabetes. To understand diabetes, first of all, you must understand how glucose is normally processed in the body. Secondly, you must understand how insulin works. We scientifically, we know, medically, insulin and glucose, they move antagonally. They move together. Once the insulin drops while the glucose rises, which goes beyond the recommended limit or the optimal level, definitely the glucose will be left defenseless. Because the insulin is no more working. Insulin is a hormone that comes from a gland situated behind and below the stomach. That is the pancreas. The pancreas secretes insulin into the bloodstream. Secondly, the insulin circulates, enabling sugar to enter your cells through the bloodstream. 3. Insulin lowers the amount of sugar in the bloodstream. As your blood sugar level drops, so does the secretion of insulin from your pancreas. Let us see the role of subtopics number 2 is the role of glucose. Topic number 2, the role of glucose. Glucose as sugar is a source of energy for the cells that make up muscles and other tissues. Glucose comes from two major sources: food and your liver. Sugar is absorbed into the bloodstream, where it enters cells with the help of insulin that we were talking about. Your liver stores and makes glucose. Your glucose levels are low, such as where you have not, or when you have not eaten in a while, the liver breaks down stored glycogen into glucose to help keep glucose level within a normal range. That is the reason why you don't have to eat and immediately go to bed. You don't have to sleep immediately after eating, to allow the food you have eaten to digest, in order for the liver to absorb that glycogen so that it can be transformed, it can be changed to glucose to your bloodstream. Subtopics number 3, causes of type 1 diabetes. As we have discussed in our previous class or session, we have type 1 and type 2 diabetes. So we are now going to talk on type 1. Let us start with type 1 diabetes. Causes of type 1 diabetes. The exact cause of type 1 diabetes is unknown. What is known is that your immune system, which normally fight harmful bacteria or viruses, attacks and destroys your insulin producing cells in the pancreas. The insulin producing cells in the pancreas, they are being attacked and destroyed by your immune system. Causes of type 1 diabetes. The exact cause of type 1 diabetes is still unknown. What is known is that your immune system, which normally fight harmful bacteria or viruses, attacks and destroys your insulin producing cells in the process. This leaves you with little or no insulin. Instead of being transported into your cells, sugar builds up in your bloodstream. Type 1 is thought to be caused by a combination of genetic susceptibility and an environmental factor. Weight is not believed to be a factor in type 1 diabetes. Subtopic number 3, causes of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, because they are going together. Prediabetes, type 2 diabetes. In prediabetes, which can lead to type 2 diabetes, and in type 2 diabetes, your cells become resistant to the action of insulin, and your pancreas is unable to make enough insulin to overcome the resistance. Environmental factors play a role in the development of type 2 diabetes too. Being overweight. Now, risk factors for diabetes depend on the type of diabetes. If we talk on the risk factors for type 1 diabetes, although the exact cause of type 1 diabetes is still unknown, factors that may signal an increased risk factors include family history. Your risk increased if a parent or sibling has type 1 or type 2 diabetes. We are talking on type 1. Environmental factors. Circumstances such as exposed to viral illness. 3. The presence of damaging immune system cells. That is autoantibodies. Sometimes family members of people with type 1 are tested for the presence of diabetes, autoantibodies. If you have the autoantibodies, you have an increased risk of developing type 1. But not everyone who has these autoantibodies develops diabetes. Apart from the presence of damaging immune system cells, we have geography. That is a geographical location. Certain countries, such as Sweden, have high rate of type 1 diabetes. There is another factor again, POS, polycystic ovary syndrome, medically. For women, having polycystic ovary syndrome, a common condition characterized by irregular menstrual period, excess hair growth, and obesity, increases the risk of diabetes. The next is high blood pressure. High blood pressure over 140 or 140 over 90 millimeters of mercury, that is mmHg, is linked to an increased risk of type 2 diabetes. Then the next one is abnormal cholesterol and triglyceride levels. When people that are using condom under triglyceride and abnormal lipid metabolism, once the lipid metabolism or the triglycerides are high, it tells you there is risk. And when you check cardiovascular and cerebrovascular function, there is a specific what do we call it, a specific coefficient there, which is termed as cholesterol. Once the cholesterol is high, there is a factor, there is a reason that person is prone to develop diabetes. Risk factors for gestational diabetes. Now let's talk on risk factors for gestational diabetes. Pregnant women can develop gestational diabetes. Some women are at greater risk than others. Risk factors for gestational diabetes include age. Women older than the age of 25 are at increased risk. Family or personal history. Your risk increases if you have prediabetes. Then the next is weight. Being overweight before pregnancy increases your weight. That is the reason why before pregnancy you have to make sure you are physically active. And if you are not physically active immediately, once you become a pregnant woman, then you have to start doing little physical exercise to avoid developing diabetes. Then race or ethnicity.